Hello YouTubers and fellow hams. Well, I have finished my experimental harmonic drive for magnetic loops to the point where I'm ready to release it. As of the shooting of this video, I've uploaded the files to both printables and thingiverse. They will be down in the description linked where you can download them. Here is, let me get this loop up in here. Here it is, mounted on my little magnetic loop, you can see. And you can see it move that cap there. It is really nice, 29:1 ratio. So when you're fine-tuning the loop, you've got about that much range to move the tuning about 5 or 6 kilohertz. So you can fine-tune your loop real easy with this guy. I love it. It's a 29:1 ratio, and it is a harmonic drive. This is the harmonic drive on my little magnetic loop. You can see here. And we're going to tune it. I'll show you how it works. I have my ICOM 705 on 20 meters. I'm going to turn the volume up a little bit. Now with the radio's volume up so we can hear it, I'm going to tune the loop until I hear a peak in the static noise. Now you could see how sensitive the tuning was. I had a nice range that I could move the capacitor over. I'm going to take the radio's power down to 0% and go into RIDI mode, which will throw out a carrier, so we can look at the SWR indication. Alright, we got a little bit. I'll tweak the tuning just a touch. And it's gone. Right there you can see no SWR indicated now at all. And I only had to move it about, it was about there, I moved it about there, and then the SWR was 0. So you can get really, really close just by listening to the static on the radio. And this is so precise that I only had to move it like that far, and it actually was moving the capacitor when I moved it that far. There's no slop. No slop in this thing at all. It's absolutely precise. I'm going to hook up the VNA so we can watch the frequency tuning shift as I move this, and you can see how much range we have here with the 29:1 ratio. Alright, I've got my CC Nano VNA hooked up, which is my favorite antenna analyzer. I did a review of this guy a little while ago. It's a wonderful, wonderful device. Well built, love it. So anyway, we are now looking at SWR. And right here you can see the frequency where we got the lowest SWR. It's tracking. And I'm going to turn the loop, the tuning capacitor, slowly, and you can watch how this moves as I turn it. And I'll see if I can get a split screen here somehow so you can watch me turning the loop and watch this going at the same time. So here we go. We're going to tune the loop very slowly. And you can see how far I'm turning this and how slowly that's moving up. So that gives you an idea of the tuning range that we have now that we've got this 29:1 gear ratio on here. Now, in the previous video where I talked about the design of it, the announcement video, where I showed you the design of the drive, here you can see the CAD files. I designed it in FreeCAD. I had a few comments and a few questions from people that didn't quite get how a harmonic drive works. So I put together a little graphic presentation here that'll sort of walk you through how a harmonic drive actually works. So my harmonic drive has 2 gears, a 60-tooth gear and a 58-tooth gear. Let's consider the properties of these gears. So if we have our 2 gears meshed and we rotate them around, I've got these pointers here, these markers. You can see where these are our start points. They're lined up. And if I rotate this 58-tooth gear all the way around once, we end up 1, 2 teeth apart. You see that? They're now 2 teeth apart because 58 and 60. So what if we were to turn this 60-tooth gear inside out and put the 58-tooth gear inside of it? So if we took our 60-tooth gear and made it a ring gear, our 58-tooth gear would just fit inside because it is a slightly smaller diameter. And if we rotated it around again, we'd have the same deal. If we started, I didn't set up the animation, but you get the idea. If we started with our start points right here and we rotated around one turn, this 58-tooth gear would be 2 teeth off on our ring gear. But what if we didn't rotate this, but rather we put a cam in the middle of it? So let's imagine that this ring gear is now fixed. It does not turn. But our center gear does turn. And we have this cam that is pressing the gear off to the side to mesh the teeth there on the left. And I've put 2 little holes in there so you can see the alignment. Now let's imagine our cam is rotating clockwise. And as it rotates around here, it's pushing the gear teeth together, causing that center gear to mesh. And by the time it gets around to the opposite side, you can see that our dots have moved. Since that 58-tooth gear is 2 teeth less, by the time the cam has made it halfway around, that dot is now 1 tooth lower off from where it was beginning. So the cam continues to rotate around, and as it comes around to where it began, now our inner gear is 2 teeth off. While the cam was rotating clockwise, the inner gear was being made to rotate counterclockwise by the meshing of the teeth. And that is basically how an harmonic drive works. So I hope that cleared it up. It's really actually kind of simple. It just seems complicated at first, but it's a really simple idea. And whoever came up with it, wow, neat. So the cam in mine is dual-headed. If you'll recall from the graphic, when the cam was 180 degrees, the tooth had moved over, the gear teeth had moved over 1 full tooth. So most harmonic drives will have a cam that has 2 ends that push out, and it will engage the teeth at the 180 degree point and the 0 degree point, as you can see here from the assembly video, this clip. And that way you've got symmetry. You've got stresses are equal on either side, so the shaft is centered. It's not being pushed off to the side by the cam, and it just makes things a little smoother. Speaking of smooth, the flexible gear is printed in TPU 95A, which is a flexible filament. And that's a requirement. It has to be printed in that material. The rest of the device can be printed in whatever plastic you want, PLA, PETG, PC, carbon fiber if you want. It doesn't really matter. But that flexible gear needs to be printed in TPU 95A. And it has 3 print settings that are really important. 0.2 layer height, 3 perimeters. You need 3 perimeters. And most important, the seam needs to be set to random in your slicer. In 3D prints, as the nozzle comes around doing a perimeter, it has a start and end point where it, just a minuscule little pause as the tool head goes to the next parameter, goes to the next move. And there will be a seam. If the seam is aligned, you'll see a seam down the side of your 3D print. That seam in the flexible gear created a noticeable bump. And as you were turning the cam, it would reach this bump and it would have to press harder and snap over it. And that gave a little spot where the tuning didn't want to stay. If you tried to tune it to that spot, it would bounce off or it would snap over. So setting the seam to random, each perimeter that the nozzle draws, it has a different start and end point. So you get a tiny little bitty bump, but you get, for each layer, it's in a different spot. So as you're tuning it, you feel kind of a little bit of a ratchety feeling to it. It's not absolutely buttery smooth, but you can tune it to any point and it'll stay there. It doesn't bounce off of that bump with the seam. So it's really important to have your seam set to random when you print that gear. The rest of it is a straightforward 3D print. There is a PDF file up on printables and thingiverse where the model files are. There's a PDF file that has the number of screws and types that you need and a link to the mini bearings, the little 8mm bearings that I use for the cam. They're tiny little bitty bearings, but they're cheap. I think I got 20 of them for less than $10. And so there's a link on that PDF with a QR code that'll take you to an Amazon page It's not an affiliate link. I don't make any money off of it. I'm just providing that so you can get the exact same bearings that I used when I built this. And I think that's pretty much it. It's experimental, but it does work. And I think it's my favorite method for tuning a magnetic loop so far because of that broad range you get. So there you go. My experimental harmonic drive for magnetic loops is available, ready to be downloaded and printed and put to use. And I hope you find it useful, and I hope you found that interesting. And we'll see you in the next video.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also, if you're not already a subscriber, click to subscribe. Join us on the Facebook channel for discussion about the videos. And if you'd like to help support this channel, please click to support me on my Patreon page.